Hello everyone! While all of you are voting for my next series, we have another interesting game to check out. It's again Kasparov against a celebrity. This time Kasparov is playing against Gordon Matthew Thomas Sumner, also known as The Sting. Now, how did the two of them meet over the board? It was in the year 2000 and it was a simultaneous exhibition organized in Times Square, New York. Now, Kasparov had a little project of his own. He organized a chess tournament on KasparovChess.com, and in this tournament, over 600 chess schools participated. It was like the World Chess Championship of Chess Schools. And this simultaneous exhibition is the final event of this big tournament. And in this event, funds were raised for Sting's Rainforest Foundation. Now, in this simultaneous exhibition, as it is a simultaneous exhibition, Kasparov didn't only face Sting. He faced all of his members, all of the members from his band. And here we have this is a part of an article I found. It was on mtv.com, but I will put a link to the entire article if you want to read it. The article was published, I believe, the next day after the simultaneous exhibition. A very cool Kasparov, likely not quaking in his boots, played Sting, guitarist Dominic Miller, keyboardist Jason Rebello, trumpet player Chris Botti, and the vocalist Russ Irwin simultaneously. So there you have it, Kasparov against the entire band. Well, okay, maybe better to leave this after the video. But here we do have a photo of the two of them playing. There, Kasparov walking around, playing the moves, and Sting on the left. So it's actually a pretty nice photo, and I also did find a very short video footage of this on YouTube. So here I'll just show you a couple of seconds. There's Kasparov holding his simultaneous exhibition. There's Sting pondering on his next move, and I'll also put a link to this video in the description below so you can check it out. It lasts only a minute, but you know. So let's see this game. Kasparov has the white pieces, as is the custom. When one holds a simultaneous exhibition, you have white in all the games. And Kasparov opens with g3. This is the Hungarian opening. We have knight to f6, bishop to g2, and e5. d3, bishop to c5, and here you can see Kasparov developed his bishop on this nice diagonal. Then he played d3. d3 will be complementing e4, and then later Kasparov will also play c4, and this will also control d5 nicely. So the pawns on d3 and c4 will very nicely complement the bishop on g2. So this is a very nice way to open your game. Knight to f3, we have d6, Kasparov castles, and Sting castles. c4 now, knight to c6, and knight to c3. So, transposing into the English opening, we have bishop to g4, h3, bishop captures on f3, bishop captures, and queen to d7. So, Sting gave up his bishop pair, he grabbed the knight on f3, now he played queen to d7, he's attacking the h3 pawn, so Kasparov simply retreats, bishop back to g2. We have a6, Kasparov plays e3, and bishop to b4 now by Sting. And Kasparov plays knight to e2. From e2, the knight can come to g3 after Kasparov pushes g4, and then from g3 the knight will be able to come either to f5 or h5, depending on the position. You could have played something like knight to d5, but this only leads to an exchange of pieces. White doesn't really gain anything here. So knight to e2, making this bishop on b4 look rather funny. Rook a to e8, and now a3. Bishop back to c5, and now queen to c2. We have rook to e7. Sting now prepares to double rooks on the e-file. b4. Bishop goes to e7, a7, and now knight to c3. We have rook f to e8. Now Sting does double up. Bishop to d2, and here we have d5. This was all the way up to this point. Kasparov does control more space, and his position is somewhat better, but it's nothing decisive. Here, Sting should probably play knight to d8, prepare c6, and only then try to execute d5. But for some reason, after this bishop to d2, Sting immediately played d5, which is obviously a pawn sacrifice. The d5 square is guarded by the pawn, by the knight, by the bishop on g2. So there was no talk of this. Was this an oversight, or was this like a pawn sacrifice by Sting? But Kasparov accepts the pawn. C captures on d5. Now Sting plays knight to d8. the move we discussed that should have been played a move before actually sacrificing the pawn. But okay, who knows? He might have actually wanted to play this. Kasparov now defends the pawn. He plays e4. We have h6 by Sting, bishop to e3 offering an exchange of bishops, and although the bishop on a7 was a very strong piece, now you definitely want to exchange pieces here. But here Sting played b6, and you'll see that, well, this move, other than giving up the pawn a couple of moves sooner, this move really takes this bishop out of the game. So this bishop is now on a7. Kasparov will lock the position entirely on light squares, and there will be no way for this bishop to ever see the light of day. But we'll get to that. Knight to e2 by Kasparov, making room for queen to come to c6. Of course, if this knight ever moves. If it doesn't, it's just a weird knight. Knight to b7, and now g4, making room for the knight on g3. Rook to c8, we have knight to g3, and now knight comes to d6, preventing the knight from jumping to f5. And immediately Kasparov comes queen to c6. Now he will lock down the entire queen side using the pawns on the light squares. Queen captures on c6, d captures on c6, and rook to d8. We have a4 now, preparing b5. Knight comes to c8, attacking the d3 pawn, rook f to d1, defending the pawn, and now rook to e6, attacking the c6 pawn, but here Kasparov is in time for everything, b5. We have a5 by Sting, and now if you look at this position, Sting has all of his pawns on dark squares. On the queen side, he has a dark square bishop. There is no way for this bishop to ever leave this tomb. So, bishop to f3, Kasparov prepares bishop to e2, so he can guard the d3 pawn with the bishop. Rook e to d6, now the rooks are doubled on the d file, and bishop to e2, guarding the d3 pawn. Knight to h7, trying to activate his knight. h4, not allowing knight to jump to g5, and knight to e7. Kasparov plays knight to f5, we have knight captures, g captures, and f6 now. Rook to a3 by Kasparov, we have king to h8, with some ideas of maybe going rook g8 and pushing the g-pawn. Rook to d2, rook does come to g8, and now h5. Kasparov doesn't allow Sting to push the g-pawn anywhere, but he allows knight to g5. So knight to g5, we have king to f1, and now knight to h3. Kasparov attacks the knight, bishop to g4, forcing it back, and here we have knight to f4. And this knight to f4 move gives Kasparov the ideal opportunity to finally push d4 and get rid of his backwards pawn. Now, of course, you can never capture on d4, because if you capture on d4, the knight on f4 becomes under attack. And here you want to continue something, rook to d8, but still you're down in material, your bishop is completely out of the game. White will win this position eventually. But for some reason, again, Sting played e captures on d4, giving up an entire piece here. So bishop captures, Kasparov gladly accepts the piece. We have rook d to d8, and here comes king to e2. Rook to g8, rook g to e8, king to d3, and now rook to e7. Bishop to d1, rook d to e8, now Sting doubles up on d file, but simply f3 by Kasparov, rook back to d8, and here after bishop to b3, it was in this position that Sting resigned the game. He doesn't really have any move, not only he's down a piece, but if you look at this bishop, he's actually down 2 pieces, and there's really no counterplay here. Kasparov's play is relatively simple. He will simply play rook a1, rook d1, king c4, eliminate the d4 pawn, and then break through in the position and easily win this game. But of course, as Sting was a pretty good chess player, he knew this, and he knew that there was no point in continuing this game. So yeah, Kasparov did defeat all of them, and Sting lasted the longest out of his entire band, and it took Kasparov around 50 minutes to defeat all of them. But like I said, I will put a link to the entire article in the description below, so feel free to check it out. And yeah, let's not forget about let's not forget about this. These are the current standings of the vote for my next series. So already 10,000 of you have voted, but I will leave the vote active up until tomorrow, and tomorrow, as of tomorrow afternoon or tomorrow noon, I will start my new series. So winning so far is the 2013 Candidates plus Carlsen versus Anand match with 37%. Then Bobby Fischer Candidates plus match versus Spassky, 27%. Then Capablanca versus Alyekhin match, 22%. Then Tal Memorial 2008 from Ivanchuk's perspective, 10%. And then Steinitz versus Lasker, 4%. So unless this changes, and well, only 10,000 of you have voted so far, so it might yet change. But if it doesn't, tomorrow we are starting with the 2013 Candidates tournament. So yeah, this was the game. I do hope you enjoyed it. It was Kasparov versus Sting. And Sting said that he really enjoys chess. He enjoyed chess his entire life, and he was old friends with Kasparov at the time this simultaneous exhibition was played. And after Kasparov's World Chess Championship for schools ended, it was actually Sting who handed out trophies to the winners of every division in that tournament. So yeah, I would like to thank Kelsey Roberts, Robert Ljungqvist, and Michael Wiley for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot, I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you soon with another interesting game. And like I said, tomorrow we are starting probably with the 2013 Candidates Tournament. Yeah, and one thing I didn't know until I actually read this article is that Sting has 6 children, and he taught all 6 of them to play chess. He said that knowing how to play chess didn't really help him strategically in life, but they are very young, and if they learn it while they're young, he's sure that it will help them. So yeah, that's it. Thank you all, and I will see you soon.